Today, I'm giving you all of my final thoughts on the Nike ZoomX Streakfly. So I just finished running the New York Roadrunners Queens 10K yesterday, and I wanted to put this shoe to the test on an actual 10K road course. I wasn't running all out. I was running with somebody else, really kind of pacing them, helping them do their best. So I had more time on my feet than I may have otherwise, and I also led with a 2-mile warm-up because I wanted to do 8 miles in preparation for the Chicago Marathon this year. So 8 miles in this shoe yesterday. I'll give you all my thoughts on that, but let's just quickly start with some of the specs. It's only a 6-ounce shoe in a men's size 9, so it's a super lightweight shoe, and that's why Nike's kind of calling it its super shoe of the 5K and 10K distance. We'll get into that a little bit more very soon, but nonetheless, you'll see as far as the weight goes, again, men's size 9, 6 ounces. That's one of the lighter shoes out there that you can get for a nice, bouncy, cushioned ride out on the road these days. Now, as far as the stack height, you do actually get up to 32 millimeters in the heel, down to 26 millimeters in the forefoot. Gives you a 6 millimeter drop in that Nike ZoomX Streakfly. So you're not going to feel anything too unfamiliar as far as the drop or the stack height. Honestly, 32 is pretty good for the roads. Now the midsole will start kind of at a funny place, but the midsole should be very familiar. It's ZoomX foam. They use it in the Nike Vaporfly. They use it in the Nike Alphafly. They will use it in the Nike Alphafly 2. They use it in the ZoomX Invincible. The list goes on and on. This is a really popular foam for Nike these days. And truthfully, I think it's one of the best foams still out there today. I think a lot of companies originally just wanted to throw a carbon fiber plate into a shoe and thought that that was going to be the key to a super shoe. But I really believe that it's the foam itself, and I think Nike's still at the top, if not one of the 2 or 3, arguably at the top when it comes to their midsole foam. And then those plates and other materials inside really complement the foam itself that's already put into that shoe. So this is a ZoomX foam. It does have a PBEX shank inside the shoe. I don't know the exact location. Somewhere in the midfoot. You can see it's definitely not in the forefoot because of how flexible the shoe is. Definitely not in the heel, again, because of how loose the shoe is overall. So it's somewhere in between those bending points down here in the middle. And it's supposed to just add a little bit of rigidity, give you a little more propulsion off of the ground. But again, for the most part, you're really working with the ZoomX foam, and that's what's keeping your ride moving forward. For the upper, we've got an engineered mesh, very breathable, very see-through. I don't know how much you can see as far as the light going through the shoe here on camera, but it's super breathable, super comfortable, and it has a contoured heel pad around here to help lock your foot down. Some offset lacing, also just to help with comfort and lockdown. And I have to say, I mean, the tongue, just enough padding on this portion right here to really give you just that comfort so the laces don't cinch down on top of your foot itself. But otherwise, the tongue becomes, again, an engineered mesh, very see-through, very breathable, keeps the weight down. And this lacing system, this upper, I think this is one of the most comfortable uppers that I've truly ever felt out of a Nike shoe, maybe out of any shoe. This thing just hugs my foot like a sock. I cannot possibly tighten the laces too much, whatever they've done to balance it out. They have these little kind of loops that your laces go into just to help spread, I think, the tugging or the exact location that pressure is going to form from the laces when they're tied tightly. I mean, I cannot go wrong with this shoe at all when it comes to the upper, and I really actually wish they applied this upper and this exact thing to the Vaporfly that I could use then for a marathon or something like that. I love the upper that much. So let me just first tell you a little bit more about how this felt during the 10K yesterday, and then we'll get into kind of the debate about where this shoe should be used going forward and how it really competes with its own brand when it comes to the Nike Vaporfly. As far as comfort yesterday, I was a little bit worried, I'll be honest. I'm a 240-pound guy, so I'm really kind of giving this review from my perspective and how it works and how shoes in general work for me as a heavier person. And I was worried. I thought that I was going to feel the ground a little bit too much after a longer run. I had some issues, or not so much issues, but just generally preferred the Saucony Endorphin Speed when it came to doing speed work on the road, because again, when I was running hard on the road, I just felt the pavement a little bit much through this ZoomX foam and the lower stack height. But yesterday I didn't have any issues, and I'd say you know, if I could give you time that I would rather spend in, you know, with this shoe on my foot during a race, I'd say about 40 to 45 minutes. I think if you're somebody who runs a 10K in less than 45 and definitely 40 minutes, you're not going to experience any discomfort or feelings like you're sinking too far into this lower stack height shoe. You're going to be just fine. Since I was pacing somebody else, we spent about an hour during the 10K, and I still had no issues, but I just think in general of keeping your legs fresh and helping resist that fatigue, a little more stack height and a little more foam would be preferable if you're going a little bit slower as far as pacing for a 10K or even a 5K race. So if you're a little bit faster, I think this shoe is going to be better suited for you than someone who's going to be on their feet for a long time and might be just a little bit slower. So cushion and comfort wise, you know, it's there. There's really nothing you can complain about in this shoe. And if you are somebody who would rather work on a little bit of a budget, maybe you're not going up to that half marathon distance just yet, I think this is a nice option. I do still think something like the Saucony Endorphin Speed, honestly, for a 5 or 10K race on the road, if you're on a budget, is honestly going to still be just that better choice. It's just going to edge out this shoe a little bit when it comes to racing. So it becomes a difficult decision. Again, if you're on a budget, there may just be some very competitive options that are out there for you today, and it might not be this shoe that's the one that you choose. Now, if budget's not an option for you, again, you kind of run into this situation where this shoe's competing for itself. If you're going for a PR in your 5K, going for a PR in your 10K, I don't think it's absurd or out of the question to just use the Vaporfly. The Alphafly, I think, is a little bit much for me. I would probably save that for at least a half marathon, maybe a marathon. But the Vaporfly is really just sitting in as that perfect shoe for me. That Vaporfly Next Percent has sat at the top of my favorite shoe list for so long, and I would still prefer to use that on a 5K, 10K day if I was to pick between this and that. So again, it's just that issue that Nike runs into. I don't think I'm the first person to feel that way. You know, where does this really have a home, and how do you really surpass the power and the running capabilities of the Vaporfly Next Percent when you're comparing these two shoes? And I just don't think they stack up comparably on the road. Now, where I absolutely will use this shoe going forward is on the track. It's a little too high of a stack height to use this in an actual, you know, track event. You can't use this in a 5K, 10K on a track. I think the limit is down somewhere around 20 or something millimeters. And like I said, this goes up to 32 in the heel, so it's too much. But for track workouts, if you're somebody who's done, you know, threshold miles on the track, repeat 400s, repeat 800s on the track, and you're looking for a little bit more cushion than something obviously like a spike or a racing flat, this is just the right amount of height for that. And I love this shoe on the track. It is my favorite, again, even as a bigger guy. I like this shoe better than the Saucony Endorphin Speed or really anything else that I would choose to use on the track previously. The lower stack height feels really, really good around the turns of a track. You're not too high off the ground. You know, a Vaporfly is almost 40 millimeters tall in the heel, and you start to feel a little wobbly when you're going around a track workout, you know, over and over again, pretty much in a circle or an oval. This shoe really fits nicely into that category of track workout shoes. So I'm going to continue to use this on the track, no question. If I do 200, 400, 800 meter repeats on the road, I probably again would stick with something with a little more cushion, maybe a different brand of shoe altogether. The Saucony Endorphin Speed, I have a pair of Endorphin Pros that I got on sale that I could use. So those are going to be my road options. But when it comes to the track, again, this thing really shines. It just keeps you planted, keeps you grounded. There's a lot of confidence going around that turn. And because it's so loose and flexible, I also feel like my body and my feet are doing the work. I don't feel like I'm getting too much propulsion out of the shoe. You know, ultimately on a track day, I still want to do the workout myself. So this is going to be my key shoe and preferred shoe for that kind of situation. So I think finally that sums up all my thoughts on this shoe. I've used it several times for track workouts. I've now used it on the road. I've used it for a road race, and you know, I like it. But it's a good option if you're somebody who prefers that lightweight shoe, if you're somebody who I think is a very light runner and just prefers a very light shoe. You're not so concerned about the stack height. Maybe you're still kind of in the camp of I like to use lower racing flats. I don't like to use the high stack height super shoes. Then definitely consider this. Definitely put it on. Definitely see how it feels. It's not going to be the lightest thing out there as far as a racing flat, but it gets pretty close and it gets the job done with a little bit of extra cushion under your foot for you. So that's who it's for in my opinion, and otherwise it's going to be a track shoe for me, and you'll have to decide for yourself whether you want to have that in your budget and in your rotation just to use out on the track. So thanks for watching, everybody. The road for Chicago 2022 will continue. I think we're going into week 3 already. Time's really flying. So follow along, subscribe down below if you want to follow my training for the Chicago Marathon this year. And we'll also be running the New York City Marathon just 4 weeks after Chicago. So lots to come, lots of other summer races and fun stuff along the way. So I hope you guys stick around. I hope to see you all in the next video.